So it's really interesting. It's a good problem to have,
Yeah.
right? This is one of those situations where you're really glad that a guy like Fred Warner fell to the 49ers and he got drafted. Fred Warner, first of all, I love watching his tape.
Oh.
He's a 3-down linebacker. He flies all over the field. Like, the 49ers could very well possibly, if Reuben Foster pans out and Warner pans out, you could have a reincarnation of Bowman and Willis.
I knew it was coming.
And I'm not
Good.
And I'm not saying that these guys will be Bowman and Willis, but I'm saying that, you know, they've got the ability, the same sort of skill set.
Are you listening?
49ers! Of course, it's me, Ronbo Sports, representing the Niner Empire organization worldwide, where 49ers football just never comes to an end. And fam, with less than 2 weeks to go before camp opens up, are you ready for that? I'm telling you, I'm starting to get a little crazy here. But a good kind of crazy. Appreciate you joining me today, fam. And it's been a while since we had an intimate conversation, actually, since Reuben Foster. And last time we talked, Reuben Foster had not been sentenced yet. Yeah. Well, he has now, and we know it's going to be 2 games. And if you were like me, you were wondering, maybe he's going to let it go. It took him forever to come up with those 2 games. All right, fine. Now we know. It could be one of those, I hate to use this term sometimes, but it could be one of those blessings in disguise. Now, who's going to play the position for Reuben? On Red and Gold Radio, actually, I was hit with that question. I said, hey, who do you think is going to play in Reuben's place? I have no answer. The more I ruminate, you like that word? The more I ruminate on this matter, I just can't come up with an answer. Because I like every guy that's potentially going to play that position, right? So you look at Malcolm Smith, of course, is going to be one of them. We got Brock Coyle. You got Corey Toomer. They talked a lot about Corey Toomer when he first came to us. You also got Fred Warner. Everybody loves him some Fred, right? Let me tell you what. Let me think about it. All right, you know what, better yet? I'll be talking to you about all the comments section, any place else we want to talk. Let's talk about this. I want to hear everybody else's, who you going to put on there, and then maybe I can draw from that, right? There you go. That's all I got to say about that for now. Then you look at lately. If the 49ers are definitely on the mind of the NFL networks. And you know this. Why? Because a lot's being said about the 49ers here lately, isn't that? And especially by PFF. PFF, all of a sudden I see Kwaski Tart. I've seen several, but I saw Kwaski Tart being spotlighted and highlighted. Kwaski's done enough. He's in his 4th year now. 49ers extended his contract because they've seen all that talent. Kwaski Tart ranks number 5 in his 2015 class as one of the best defenders since then. Yeah! Congratulations to the Kwaski team! And here's the funny thing about that, fam. Kwaski T, you do realize that's a Trent Baalke pick, right? You do also realize DeForest Buckner is a Trent Baalke pick. So we continue to pick on Trent like I love to do. What would, I know, right? What would Trent say?
Listen, what you people don't understand is, now I may not be able to run an organization, but I sure as hell knows how to pick out talent. And nobody's gonna take that away from me. And you know, some of you people ought to learn everything that happened to the 49ers wasn't my fault.
Hey, Trent, can I say a word? 2 letters and a name. A.J. Jenkins. Shut up. I mean, you know, I'm glad we got Kwaski T. I'm glad we got D-Fo. So that's all right. Anyway, the new regime is picking up great talent as well. And you know, PFF goes on. Offensive talents. Well, let me point out Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, checked him out today. I was going to pass, but I said Richard Sherman is a 49er now. Richard Sherman could be the best defensive back of all time. I saw that stat. I had a feeling they got his life stat up there. Richard Sherman, when you throw on Sherm, he's only allowed 47.7. I mean, 47.7 times have passes been completed against Sherman? That's extraordinarily amazing. I look back in history, I don't know. You look at prime time, maybe Dion was somewhere around in that number. I'm gonna look that up later, but right now, Richard Sherman could be the greatest of all time. He's on your team, fam. Yeah, you got Richard Sherman in your secondary. How awesome is that? And you know what else I really appreciate that? Because of Kello Witherspoon. Same dimensions. What are the odds of having two guys like that? And one of them is possibly the greatest of all time. And then you got a Kello Witherspoon learning from him. Rich may last a couple more years. The way he takes care of himself, he may last 3 more years. You don't know. But we do know that a Kello Witherspoon is like a sponge when it comes up to picking up this kind of talent. We watched him progress last year. 1 week after another, Kello Witherspoon kept getting better and better. What's he gonna be like now with Richard Sherman being his, as Adrian Colbert, Uncle Sherm? What a great uncle to have, too. So I'm looking at these things, I'm saying, the 49ers are in a good position here with a lot of talent and a lot of heart. And let's look at offense. Trent Taylor. Trent, in his rookie year, is one of the best wide receivers. He is the best, in fact, at running slant routes. Targeted 15 times. Trent pulled them all in. First down. You need a first down? Look for Trent, because he's already lost his man trying to deal with him on that slant route. Boom! First down, 49ers! He is going to get better. He was only a rookie with Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan. You know this is going to get better and better. And speaking of Jimmy G, every time they want a stat, go see what Jimmy G did. Jimmy G owns the second quarter above every last quarterback in the NFL in the 2017 season. I know. Hey, small sample. Hey, I'm sorry. What you've seen is indicative of this kid's talent. Jimmy G, what you don't want to see if you're on another team is him coming to play your team. G's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. So now, that little indicative you're talking about, I'm sorry, it's going to increase. Second quarter he owns. That means somebody's going to get beat up a lot. I do have one worry, though. I do kind of worry about Mike McGlinchey. If you read everything like I do, you find out too much about a player. I don't want to believe it. Mike McGlinchey is said to be one of the best run blockers that was in the draft. In fact, he was the best run blocker in the draft. However, his pass protection is suspect. Now, I look back on that to see how serious that was. Yeah, he's had a few issues with some of the best defenders. But you know what I want to do? Let me talk to you about that, right? Let's go to the Ronbo Sports Camp and let's amplify on these things that I'm concerned with, and you can take it in too. I think you'll enjoy. Later, fam, football never ends, and I keep that as a promise here on Ronbo Sports. And now today, we've got a special guest. We've talked to Al Sacco. Now we're talking to one half of the 49ers Web Zone, the 49er Web Zone No Huddle podcast. See, because the thing is, you've got to keep equal. Zain begged me, hey, listen, you're not going to let Al just talk and not have my say on this.
Hey, absolutely, man. Al got his piece last time. Now it's time to get my piece. I got the Burger King headphones on and everything too for you, like the 1980s. Like, I'm throwing it back, right? Like, you got the Jerry Rice jersey on, you got the Niners logo, right? Like, I'm throwing it back, right?
Give me that double-decker burger, and I want some extra cheese in that as well. Hold back on the fries. I'm trying to diet. Zain in. Zain, what is that? There's an N at the... Zain, can I say Zain, my ninja? Just leave it.
Hey, you can call me whatever you want. Absolutely.
I've been waiting to do that joke on you all day. Right. Zain, I'm the guy who's overly optimistic about the 49ers. I am the guy that thinks they have no flaws. And Zain, I can just give you a little history so you know what you're dealing with here. I'm the guy that even thought when Jimmy Tom Sula took over, we were going to at least make the playoffs. So you can imagine right now how difficult it is not to remain contained. But I'm going to contain myself in order to hear some of the things you've got to say. And I want you. This is a problem I've got on my mind right now. I want to see what your feelings are. I look at the offensive line sort of blindly. Everybody else looks at it like, well, I don't know about that offensive line. We still got issues. But I think the offensive line, we got Weston Richburg in the middle, and we got the two ends. We got Joe Staley. But on the other side, some writers, and Zain, I don't know, some writers believe that Mike McGlinchey might have an issue with pass protection. You can run behind that big guy all day long. Zain, can you make me feel better on this matter? Are my fears justified in thinking that Mike McGlinchey might be the Achilles heel? Or are we going to be okay?
Well, Mike McGlinchey, he's an interesting guy because obviously coming out of the draft, he was the first round draft pick, and he was. A lot of people thought that they reached for him, but he was going to go to the Raiders with the next pick anyways. So He was a top rated tackle in the draft, regardless of where people thought he was going to go. And I think that the biggest thing with Mike McGlinchey is that people have to be patient. Tackle is the hardest offensive line position to play. He's not the left tackle that's the hardest, but the right tackle position is probably, in my opinion, the second hardest position. So when you're talking about a guy who needs to be better in pass blocking, and he does, you have to be able to account for those flaws in the scheme. And Kyle Shanahan is great at that. Like, I feel like Kyle Shanahan is really good at covering up deficiencies. Like, you saw what he did with Jimmy G last year. Coming in, he knew he had a limited playbook. He knew the skill set would be a little bit limited in terms of like what he knew from the 49ers scheme. And he kind of shrunk it down. He basically took like this and shrunk it down to like that. And he had Jimmy G basically execute that small portion of a playbook. I think that he's basically going to do that with the new guys in the offense. He won't necessarily scheme away from them and kind of like handicap them. What he's going to do is he's going to put them in the best position to succeed. What you're going to see is a lot of rollouts where Jimmy Garoppolo is not having to stand in the pocket. A lot of five wide receiver sets, so they can't bring as many guys in the blitz. You're going to see a lot of quick throws, a lot of things that will eliminate the need to have the offensive line holding their blocks for very long. And Kyle Shanahan he is the best offensive mind in the game. So it does concern me a bit about McGlinchey's pass blocking, but the fact that he excels at run blocking tells me that the 49ers don't want to abandon the run. Because look, if you become a team that slings it around 50 times a game and only runs the ball 10 to 15 times, it's not going to work. You have to be balanced, right? The run sets up the pass and vice versa. So I think that McGlinchey basically, he can be one of those guys where you can run those off tackle plays. A staple of Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan's offense is the athletic offensive lineman, guys that can pull, guys that can get out into space. You'll see centers pulling, you see guards pulling, you see the tackles coming outside. So Mike McGlinchey fits that sort of mold as a run blocker. And I think that's what they wanted out of an offensive lineman out of college. So I think that the fears about him are a little bit overblown. I think that it's kind of like a wait and see situation, but I think he's going to be a lot better than a lot of people think.
Yes, indeed. I think about the fact that Trent Brown left us, and I actually maybe had an overinflated opinion about him because I thought he was one of the best pass blockers in the game. But then, in the run game, he sort of fell a little short, and McGlinchey will pick up that lag. And in this case, where we couldn't run as well and effective as we probably should be able to, and as you mentioned, Kyle Shanahan's system, now we're going to see a different style of football next year. So there's something to be excited about with McGlinchey. If he can run block, and like you're saying, we're not going to make Jimmy G stand back there as we did those last few games last season. I thought Jimmy was standing around in the pocket a little too often. In the beginning, I suppose they were trying to make an adjustment. So every time they sacked, Jadeveon Clowney, every time he came zooming around that corner, it was like, you're driving down the road, if you're trying to teach somebody how to drive, you're worried about hit the brakes. Zain Battles could do nothing with Clowney coming around the other side. Oh my God. I didn't want him to play. We're going to lose Jimmy Garoppolo in the first 2 weeks. But he survived it. He's got the footwork, Zain. This is another thing, too. Can we consider the fact that Jimmy he knows how to manipulate a pocket?
Absolutely. I think you saw it in the very first touchdown that he threw against Seattle. Yes, it was garbage time, and people, half the stadium was empty, and everybody was basically heading for the exits. But you saw the way he was able to move laterally in the pocket. He's not a scrambler, right? Don't get me wrong. He's not. This is not Colin Kaepernick we're dealing with. We're dealing with a pure pocket passer, a guy who throws from the pocket, is comfortable in the pocket, has pocket presence. And for those people that say that it's a limited sample size, which is true. It's true. We hear this all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
It is a limited sample size, but you have to look at all of his intangibles, what he brings to the table, his vision, his pocket presence, his ability to throw on the run, his accuracy, like all of those things. Those things make an elite quarterback, not like, oh, well, he can run a 4.40 and outrun everybody 90 yards like Kaepernick did, right? So I think that a lot of people are looking at Jimmy Garoppolo in the wrong way and just looking at the statistics and saying like, oh, well, he only had like he had 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, right?
I hate that stat. It's that is the most untelling thing. And I say, the Lewis Murphy IND. How you gonna blame Jimmy for Lewis's little wimpy arms? He didn't hold on to the ball. And Chicago pulls out that. That's an INT on Garoppolo. Oh! So, and there were some other ones. We also seen Trent Taylor miss a route.
Yeah, and
Kendrick
the
Bourne fell down. There's reasons behind some of those things. So
yeah, and then in the Jacksonville game, he was hit right as he threw, and Zain Beatles missed a block. And Jimmy was hit right as he threw, and he threw the interception to the end zone. The receiver had come open. I was actually at that game, and I saw that happen. And I'm like, man, if he had like just a half more second to throw, that's a touchdown. So people need to, like, there's just a little bit of perspective to be had in both ways. Jimmy's not God yet on the football field,
Notice how he
but
said
he's
yet?
also not. Yeah, and he's also not just like flash in the pan. I think that he's going to be a star.
Oh. No doubt about it. I really do. And I don't want to give my expectations because people think I've lost my mind. But I don't mind giving. I do expect in years from now, Zain, I do expect Jimmy G to be sitting right next to Joe Montana and Steve and Young. I could see all 3 profiles right there. And Colin Kaepernick is considered one of the greatest quarterbacks in 49er history too. But I don't put him in the same. He's unique. But I would put Montana, Young, and Jimmy G at some point all in the same mold. So
it's been a while. It's been a while since the 49ers have had even a Pro Bowl quarterback. Al loves his stat. And Al is like the statistics guy. He's like the stats say this. He does his research and that stuff. I do mine as well, but I'm more like the gut feeling guy.
Right.
Like I'm more like, this is what I think is going to happen in this situation. So I'm much more like visceral than he is, which is kind of interesting. It's an interesting combination. But as I digress, I think that with the 49ers quarterback position, for the 20 years, first they had Montana, then it was Steve Young, then it was Jeff Garcia for a few years.
True.
Right? So
I left him out. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're coming off 3 perennial Pro Bowl quarterbacks to Alex Smith, who struggled for a long time, which was much of it was not his fault. And then when he finally figured it out, he became one of the best quarterbacks in the league in 2012 when he went down. And then we saw what it was with Kaepernick. So I think that this is an organization and a fan base and a team that is starved for a quarterback. Like when you think of San Francisco 49ers, what do you think of? You think of quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
And the guy whose jersey you're wearing. You think of quarterbacks and Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
So this fan base, I mean, everybody's just chomping at the bit to have that next great quarterback, and hopefully it's Jimmy.
Yes. Speaking of next greats, we have a situation at the linebacker. It's a fun situation. But we already know Reuben Foster is going to have to sit down for the first 2 games. I have noticed that Fred Warner, coaches are saying great things about him. He's going to get a 2-game time to audition because Malcolm Smith, another guy that can actually do a really good job. I was thinking, wow, what a great problem to have. Reuben's going to be out. I don't know if they can put Warner to the mic because they seem to like him. Or they're going to put Malcolm Smith to the mic. Or will Brock Coyle? Well, the coaches say, all right, kids, you're not ready yet. We're going to go with Brock. We'll shuttle you in and out. Where do you think we're going to go with that?
So it's really interesting. It's a good problem to have,
yeah.
Right? This is one of those situations where you're really glad that a guy like Fred Warner fell to the 49ers and he got drafted. Fred Warner, first of all, I love watching his tape. Oh. He's a 3-down linebacker. He flies all over the field. Like the 49ers could very well possibly, if Reuben Foster pans out and Warner pans out, you could have a reincarnation of Bowman and Willis.
I knew it was coming.
And I'm not. And I'm not saying that these guys will be Bowman and Willis, but I'm saying that they've got the ability, the same sort of skill set. They've got that sideline to sideline range. They've got the ability to cover guys. So these guys can be really good. And Malcolm Smith, like we didn't see him play last year because he had the pec injury. I was actually there that day at the open practice, and he injured his pec and came off the field, and we never got to see him after that. And he's one of those guys coming out of that Seattle system that knows Robert Saleh's defense. And you can't put enough value on that, guys that know the scheme. So him, along with Brock Coyle, who also knows the scheme, these guys are kind of like the teachers, and Reuben Foster and Fred Warner are kind of like the students.
Right.
And I really think it's going to be opening day. It's going to be, obviously Coyle will be on the field because Reuben Foster is suspended. Yeah. But it'll be Malcolm Smith, Warner, and Coyle. Once Reuben Foster comes in, I think Coyle will go back to special teams, depending on how Warner plays. But Brock Coyle, you have to remember, he was brought in as a special teams guy, right? He wasn't like an every down linebacker. He was only forced into that duty because of the Reuben Foster injury.
True.
So I think his best sort of role is on special teams as like a platoon linebacker. Yeah. And they're really going to want to see what Fred Warner can do. Like the guy's measurables are off the charts for linebackers. So I think that you have to. Come on, man! You can't leave that guy on the bench, right?
I can't do it. I can't do it, Zain. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God! I'm watching, like you're saying, you're watching his film. You're watching him zoom. He lasers in on guys, something like Adrian Colbert does. I thought isn't his time faster on the 40 than Reuben Foster?
It is. It was slightly faster. Yeah. So he's a converted safety. That's the interesting thing. Fred Warner is a converted safety. So he's kind of like Deion Buchanan of the Cardinals, very similar sort of role where they converted the safety into a linebacker. He still has the speed of the safety, but he's playing that linebacker position. So I think that you can basically play him at that will position, and you don't have to worry about him getting outmanned because he is on the weak side.
Yeah, especially when that big tight end comes rolling down. This is the thing, because I said we've never had. Willis was pretty good at coverage. Bowman was not very good at coverage. Malcolm Smith is not really famous for coverage. But now you look at Fred Warner, that's half man. Wait a minute, that's 1/3 man, 1/3 linebacker, and 1/3 safety. We got all that in one body, and I said, my God, he's unique, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's an interesting guy. And for those of you who haven't seen him play, I highly recommend you to put on his tape. I know that you'll probably send a link out at some point to your listeners and watchers, and please, you guys take a look at this guy. Like, he's a sideline to sideline player, and I'm thrilled that he fell that far. I didn't expect him to be there for the 49ers pick.
You say that, we could go on and on about that, because the thing is, we're going to get together on this again, because the thing is, the drafting expertise of John Lynch and his crew. We picked up players we had next year. The cut this year. I'm trying to figure out from last year. They made a lot of cuts that they had to make. We lost Jeremy Cooney. I was shocked, but I didn't know Trent Taylor was going to be the number one guy in slant routes. Are you kidding me? How did they have the wherewithal to see that? So goodbye, Jeremy. Thank you very much. Trent Taylor, you are on. I'm a rookie. You'll be fine. And he was. And now you look at Fred Warner, and he's got all the intangibles of a superstar. And then you look at Adrian Colbert, a 7th round pick. Zain, is it all about the people they have drafting, or how do they do this?
So Adam Peters, who's the head of scouting, Adam Peters is coming out of that New England system and the Denver system, and basically he's used to finding these guys in the late rounds. Because look at New England; they're never picking in the top of the first round, or any round for that matter, right? Well, except for this round when they traded Jimmy G to the Niners. But hey, I'll take that trade all day.
All
right?
day, yes.
Yeah, but they're never picking at the top of any round, so they have to really make the most of the resources. So Adam Peters is like the guy to be able to do that, to be able to find gems in the later rounds. But I also really think that it's also the scheme too. Like look at what they did specifically even after Garoppolo started, right? Like then Kyle Shanahan was able to open up the playbook a little bit more, because when CJ Beathard played, like CJ did a good job, but he was just a rookie, right? You can't expect a rookie to come in and really do very much. So once Jimmy started, like you see guys like Trent Taylor emerging, and even when Juszczyk was struggling early on in the season, like he emerged, and Kendrick Bourne and all these guys, like I think that they have like a prototype sort of player that they want on this team, like a versatile sort of quality that they look for, like a player that can play multiple positions, do multiple things. And that's very similar like to New England. Like you remember Mike Vrabel, he used to catch passes as well. Yeah. Richard Seymour used to line up in the backfield. So they're very much building very similar to what the Patriots were. They're looking for guys with versatility. Adrian Colbert can play corner or safety. He's one of my favorite guys, by the way. We had him on right after he was drafted, and the guy just exudes confidence and energy, and like he's a humble dude, but when he's on the field, like
but he knows what he's capable of. Yeah,
absolutely. And he's got elite range, and he's got exactly what this defense needs. So they had specific roles for every player. And I said this on our show after the draft as well. Like, they have roles for every single player that they draft. It's not just like Trent Baalke he was just throwing darts at a draft board and hoping that he could hit the bullseye. These guys know where each one of those guys is going to fit in. Oh. Like, they know that like Fred Warner is gonna play next to Reuben Foster. They know that Mike McGlinchey is playing right tackle. They know that last year Adrian Colbert was going to compete at safety.
Connecting all the dots. That's the genius about what they're doing. You're exactly right. They're connecting. It's like a diabolical plot going on behind the NFL's back. The Rams think they've got it made. They went out and they thought they bought a championship. You even look at the Seahawks they're starting to fade. Arizona, I'm not sure about. But I do know that we're going to compete for the Western Championship easily. Even though Robert Saleh feels, he says he feels what's about to happen. He says it happened when I was in Seattle. We knew we had something. We stumbled out of the gate a little bit. He says we went along and finally we exploded. Same thing happened with the Jaguars and it's happening now. Robert's been there too, right? So now he says, feeling that same feeling again, we'll probably stumble out of the blocks, but then we'll probably get rolling. And he says, don't be surprised if we go 4-4 in the first 8 games. Of course, now, I know what he's saying, but Robert, I don't want to go 4-4. Can we go 6-2? You know, I just don't want to. Losing bothers me really a lot. But if he's right, if that means we could be on a pace for 11-5 would be my thing. What do you think on that?
I mean, don't you just love Robert Saleh's energy?
Oh,
and the guy, like,
he's like he'd be a great gangster, a leader. You know, he's so calm with his demeanor. Violent,
yeah, and he's got like the shaved head and everything too, so he looks kind of looks like a mob boss a little bit, right?
I love the dude.
Yeah, yeah, and he's just like a guy like the defense really wants to play for him. And he's just like a guy that exudes energy. If you ever hear him talk and ever hear him on press conferences and stuff, the guy like he loves the game. He's high energy, high effort, and that's exactly the type of guy that you need for a really young defense. And this is a young defense, right? Most of the guys are under 30 years old. Richard Sherman, I believe, is one of the older guys. Earl Mitchell is another one that's above 30. But these guys, it's mostly like a young defense. And I think that what Robert Saleh sees is he sees that potential. He sees what they could become. He knows what it takes to build a championship team. He built one in Seattle. Well, he knows. And he was part of building what they have in Jacksonville now. So he knows what it takes to build a championship team. And he sees the pieces that the 49ers have in place. Now, was this one of those situations where he was like planting a seed of confidence in this team, where he was playing mind games and making them believe that they're better than they are so he could rise up to that level?
Yeah.
We don't really know. Like, if you look at what Seattle does, Pete Carroll, he loves to talk. He loves to talk his guys up. He loves to be positive all the time. And he gets them to believe they're better than they actually are, and they play up to the level of other teams. Now, you see that a little bit with the 49ers, right? You're looking at a lot of the Seahawks influence from the 2012 to 2014 teams. A lot of influence is here. And Robert Saleh is one of those guys who was there at that time in Seattle. He's bringing that same sort of enthusiasm, energy here. And I really think that this is just as much a mind game, a positive mind game for the 49ers, as it is a statement to the rest of the league that, hey, we're coming for you guys.
Dan, and you're right. Robert Saleh, I think that strong, silent type image he does have, I think it does rub off on the players. They do seem to be playing with reckless abandon at times, or as he says, we should be violently faster. Look, Saleh, you're scaring us, okay? What does that mean? You know, because of last year, it was. He had another motto. It was violence. He likes the term violence. And so everybody started adopting Robert Saleh phrases. I'm surprised that we don't have T-shirts with Robert Saleh quotes. You know, I says, you know, he's going to make that team crazy. So I'm looking forward to whatever that defense comes up with. They're underrated, Zain. Nobody's saying enough about the 49ers defense because of the fact that Jimmy, extreme violence is what I was thinking of. But not enough is being said about the defense. But I'm looking at that secondary. Zain, I do believe Keller Witherspoon is going to rise to another level this year because he was coming on game after game as he came in after he became a starter, right? Then you got Richard Sherman over on the other side. Then you've got our favorite guy, Adrian Colbert, that can zero in like a heat-seeking missile on a guy that thinks he's going to come downfield and make a catch. I mean, his closing speed it's like unhuman. We saw a few plays with him that he intercept or got involved in, and he got. Jesus, he got over there quickly, didn't he? So,
He did.
But what about that secondary? I mean, are you expecting miracles from them? I am.
So this is an interesting group, and the reason why is basically there's one guy that has changed pretty much the entire outlook of the entire defense, and you know who that guy is.
I
right?
guess. Yeah. I mean,
so
wow.
It's weird seeing him in the 49ers uniform, but 25, Richard Sherman, right? Like he's changed the entire outlook of this defense because he brings that confidence and the swagger and the name and all the accomplishments and all-pro cornerback and Super Bowl champion and all of these things. Like that's intimidating. If you're going up against him as a rookie wide receiver or a second-year wide receiver, you see Richard Sherman across from you. Hell yeah, that's intimidating. So he himself, that signing alone has changed the outlook of the entire defense. If he can stay healthy, if he's look, even if he's not healthy, if it's like 85% of Richard Sherman, I'll take that. I'll take that over
75. 75.
Yeah,
because his skill level is just so up there. I mean, he doesn't have all that kind of speed. He's such a brilliant player. And just like the rumors we've heard, and I guess it's not rumors now, but about him studying film hours and hours and hours. He doesn't get tired of studying his opponent. And then when he comes out there, like Robert Saleh Robert Saleh has an expertise in chess, right? We've got minds on this club, and Jimmy G, I still think cerebral. What he does to a defense is very interesting because he seems to know exactly who's going to make what mistake. Remember that throw he made to Murphy in was that second game? Yeah. Game 2, he threaded the needle, saying the window must have been about the width of a man's body. He got that ball in there, he was going down. He let it go before he made several throws like that. He goes down, the ball's off. Murphy makes the catch. It's all right. Later on in the post game, that was a pretty risky throw you made there. I kind of pretty much knew where it was going. I saw the safety and I saw the corner, and he's explaining what he said. His mind works like that. This is the thing. Some guys can process quickly, and that's what makes him an elite quarterback. Because the things he does, he's got good arm speed and everything, but there's a lot of guys who probably have good arm speed. But Jimmy's ability to process is amazing to me.
Yeah, he again, that's one of the elite traits that we talk about, right? Like we're talking about what makes him, in my opinion, what is going to make him an elite quarterback. It's the ability to process things. Yeah. It's ability to see the field and decide where the mismatch is. Because look, people ask who is the number one receiver going to be in this Kyle Shanahan offense? Because you got a bunch of Pierre Garçon's been a number one, but he's not a number one anymore. Marquise Goodwin's not really a number one guy. He's like a number two guy. Trent Taylor, as you mentioned before, and you got the rookie as well, Dante Pettis. So none of these guys is really like a dominant number one receiver, but that's going to be on Jimmy basically to find the open guy. And the number one receiver is going to be the guy that's going to be open. That's all we can say, right? He's not going to lock on to one guy. He's not going to favor one guy over the others. He's going to find a mismatch. Because if you think about this, if you go 5 wide, and it's July and we're talking about this, I want them to play tomorrow, right?
No. 5 wide. Hey, give me your 5 guys, because everybody's got their different 5 guys. Who are you going to put in that 5 guys setup?
So the five when they go 5 wide, and they have been practicing that, so you can say that you're going to see it on the field this year.
We are.
So Garçon is obviously going to be your number 1. Yeah. Goodwin's going to be number 2. Trent Taylor's going to be number 3. Pettis is going to be number 4, and then 5 will basically be, it's either going to be Bourne or it's going to be I think it's going to be Kendrick Bourne, right? Like I think that he has a chance to they're really high on him. He earned his spot last year. And the 6th guy is the rookie James that they drafted this year, so he can return punts and things like that. But I think that once you put those 5 on the field, like you're basically going to get you're probably going to get Trent Taylor on the other team's number 3 corner, or Dante Pettis on the other team's number 3 corner, slot corner.
Mismatch.
I will take exactly, and that's where Jimmy's going to go, right? That's basically what they're going to do when you don't have necessarily like an elite receiving core. They have talent, but they're not like elite. When you don't have that talent, you have to create mismatches like that, and you have to exploit those mismatches, and that's how you win. Like you said, chess, right?
Yeah.
Chess, not checkers. So these guys are going to be playing chess basically every single snap of the game, seeing where the mismatch is, finding those guys, and relying on Jimmy's elite vision to be able to do that. Like the way he carved up that Jacksonville defense, and Jalen Ramsey came out like a couple of weeks ago. He's like, "Oh, it wasn't anything special. That's fine. That's just a bunch of talk, right?" But
that's why I tagged Jalen with this. Jalen.
Exactly. So I was there that day, and I saw him carving up that Jacksonville defense, who was number 1 at the time, and ended up being number 2 because Jimmy put 37 points on it. So, and the other touchdown came from the Dante Johnson pick 6, but. The way that he was able to see that field and the vision that he had, like if he had more talent, he would have put a 50 on it. Yeah. Like he was that good that day.
I love it.
So he's got that, and that's something he learned under Tom Brady. That's something that he's learned the past 4 years. That just doesn't come like just by practicing. Either you have it or you don't. Like how much did they try to practice giving that same sort of vision to Kaepernick? He can never get it. No. So I think that exactly that is probably the elite quality that is going to take him the furthest is his vision and his ability to find the open guy.
Give me a prediction, Zain. You know I was going to ask you for a prediction. Are you a 10-6, 11-5, 9-7, or are you out of your mind like a lot of people saying 14-2? I've heard people say 15-1. You know.
Well, I mean I want to put a precursor on this and say that it's July. We don't know what the team's going to look like. And nobody's playing preseason games, but I will say my way too early prediction for them. So here's my long-winded explanation of this. So the 49ers are obviously a team that's still rebuilding, right? They're not like 1 or 2 players away. They're good, but they're not like Super Bowl roster good, right? Like they were in the Harbaugh years. So that being said, like they're not going to be a terrible team. They're not going to be last place. Yeah. But they won't be like, top of the NFC 14-2. So I would say they're going to build on last year. They'll be better than last year. Yeah. They'll be anywhere between 8-8 and 10-6. Right. And I say that because really last year they were 6-10. If you could steal 2 of those games, you're right there. You're 8-8. Okay. So if you steal 2 more games, you have to believe that the defense will win a couple of games. They'll win a couple of games just by luck. Then those things happen in the NFL, right?
True.
So if they can steal 2 to 3 games, they'll get to 10-6, 11-5, right? Yeah. I think that they'll be contending for a wild card spot for sure. Yeah. We know that the Rams are all in. We know that all the fans are doing all this yapping on Twitter and everything. We know that they've gone all in for the next 2 years because they realize their window is now. Yeah. But I think the 49ers are taking a more measured approach. Like, all right, the Seahawks are pretty much done. Right, we know that their defense is done. They won't go anywhere with Russell Wilson's a good quarterback. And one day we can do a show about my thoughts on Russell Wilson.
Yeah. That'll be all day. I've got some to share with you as well. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But Russell was a good quarterback. He's not good enough to carry them. No. Right. The Cardinals are rebuilding. The Rams are basically the only competition. And if they don't, they're going to regress. They're not going to be 14-2 again. Right. So. Or they're not going to be 13-3 or whatever they were again. They're going to regress a little bit.
2-year window, Zain. 2 years for the Rams.
Yeah, so I think that the 49ers are basically building to peak when that 2-year window is up for the Rams because there will be no other real competition for them in the division. So I think it's going to be probably the peak is going to be 10-6. The floor is going to be 8-8. I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to say 9-7. That's a conservative prediction.
That's it. It's an intelligent one too. From everything you said, you take everything you said in consideration. He's right.
Yeah, and the thing is that we really don't know how the offense is gonna behave with McKinnon there and Breda sharing carries and with this revamped receiving core and with the defense. So I think that what you're going to see is a team that will lose a couple of games in the beginning of the season. They may very well go 0-2 to start the season, but they'll eventually end up get back to 500, and you'll see kind of like a streaky team. You'll see like 2 losses, 3 wins, 2 losses, 4 wins, something like that, right? So.
Which will be fun.
It's going to be a fun season, but I really think that 9-7 is probably where they're going to be because they'll be contending for a spot. They may lose the last game or last couple of games or lose.
Anybody but the Rams. The Rams they're the last game on the schedule. We have to beat that team.
You win that one. All right, so you go the last one. They go 9-7, but they'll be above 500. I think they'll be hovering around or above 500. But next year, that's when you have the cap space. That's when you have another year of Jimmy G. That's when you have another year for all these rookies to get acclimated to the system.
Yes.
That's when they can make that big splash signing and sign that number 1 receiver, sign that elite pass rusher to put them over the top. I said when Kyle Shanahan got hired, I said that it's not going to be his rookie year. It's not going to be the second year. The third year is when they're going to start peaking. And that's 2019, right?
And that's a good time to peak because I don't want that window closing any time within the 5-year time. So exactly. Yeah, I like that. There you go. Zain breaks it down. And for those of us who have gone too far, we will have to listen to what Zain says. He's right. Now calm down with the 14-2 and the 15-1. Look at me, right? How about you, Ronbo? I'm listening, okay? And Zain, and I tell you what, the No Huddle podcast. Zain, you guys, as last time Al says, you guys are not every week right now because the season there's not a lot of stuff going on. But when can we expect the next podcast?
So we're actually recording. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're recording Thursday, which is now, as of now, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we've got hopefully we've got Larry Krueger coming on if he's not busy with anything else, the Giant stuff in KNBR. But we got Larry Krueger from KNBR coming on, and eventually we've got Ted Robinson, who's the voice of the 49ers. He's going to be coming on in a couple of weeks. So this is we're not doing it every week now because it's a slow time of year, and we want to be able to report things that are actually like happening as opposed to like speculating and stuff. But when it comes to the season, we're on every week. Our producer does really well to get us good guests, and you guys can expect us doing this every week once the season starts.
All right. And this year you guys may be busier than you think because once a week may not be enough, Zain. You guys may have to come on at least twice a week. It's going to get crazy this year. I just can see it coming already because the Rams have already started stirring the pot. Now you've got this rage going on. I can't wait till the season gets underway. Speaking of, Zain, we have now gotten to that Rams game. Zain just says, well, maybe the last two. No! The Rams are one of the last two. We are now in L.A. We have to play the last game on the home against the Rams, in the home of the Rams. So, can you imagine, Zain, it's even up. And somehow the 49ers have rode all the way to this game. Whoever wins this game wins California and the NFC West. What a scenario!
Oh, man.
13 seconds to go. Is it Robbie Gould or is it going to be Jimmy G for a touchdown shot? Oh, I can get so many possibilities. But anyway, we do score, Zain. Your reaction would be 3, 2, 1.
Division champs, San Francisco 49ers. Suck it, Rams. Bye, Felicia.
Let me put some quotation marks on that to repeat it. Oh, my God. Yes. Thank you, Zain. Zain, I feel better already, man. Just having that conversation with you. Zain, yeah, you'll find him on Twitter. He is one half of the No Huddle podcast. You'll find it on the 49er Web Zone. And hey, while I'm at it, let me give a shout out to my boy Al Sacco. You guys will let me bother you guys every few minutes, so just stay prepared for that. Fam, it's 49ers football. We will continue to talk it. I'll see you on Red and Gold Radio. Stay red and gold. I know it's corny, but I gotta say, stay red and gold until we get together in a little while. Count. Oh, you thought I was gonna forget, huh? I never forget. Hit me some like. Do not forget to hit me some like. If someone's doing this in this fashion, please share me. Don't be greedy. And subscribe. I'll see you on Red and Gold. Count me down.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have me, Cyrus.